Welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show on this, our proud 4th of July edition. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is Sharon Engel. And for rebroadcast of our shows, please check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. You'll find our radio show there, our TV show there, a lot of terrific articles, a lot of great information. And with that, Sharon, we do have our first guest of the day with us. Please make him feel welcome.
Well, it's an honor and a pleasure to introduce Eric Rittmeyer, who is a former U.S. Marine and an expert in the field of mental toughness and emotional intelligence, EQ. He speaks to audiences all over the country, teaching executives and sales professionals how to overcome the limits brought on by fear and emotions and replace them with clear, concise, critical thinking that gets results. Eric, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thanks for having me, guys. That introduction made me feel official. Geez, made me feel important.
Well, we think you are official, and thank you so much for your service. This is a wonderful thing to have a member of our armed forces here on Independence Day.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It is just an honor to speak with you, Eric, especially about July the 4th. So much has happened in our country. It seems there's a lot of disrespect going on. And I know that that's politically driven. We have an opposing side here that because they're out of power, they're disgruntled. They're out of peace of mind, I guess. They're not critically thinking anymore. So maybe you can give them a few pointers on how to be respectful even when we disagree.
Yeah, I refer to that. They need to sober up. So basically, what I call this is being drunk in emotion. And unfortunately, our whole nation right now is just totally drunk in emotion, meaning that everyone's incapable of thinking logically. And that's the thing about emotion. Emotion and logic are inversely related. So as you become more emotional, you become less logical. And we're just at a point right now in this nation where it's just that there's a total inability to hear an opposing point of view. And the minute somebody says something or the minute somebody produces any type of facts that conflict with what that person believes, it automatically defaults to defense mechanisms and mean talking and belittling and things like that. We're very drunk in emotion right now.
Well, it also seems like there is a reactionary thing that is really depriving us of some of our freedoms, and I'm thinking specifically of the freedom of speech.
Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, you look at the platforms now. I mean, the most recent news now is the one congressman who's saying she wants to go after people and try to charge them with a crime for saying mean things about sitting members of Congress. I mean, where are we? What's going on here? But you're right. I mean, and that's the problem. I mean, when it comes to freedom of speech, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, just tell me, be honest with me, let me know what you think. Then the minute you tell them, they get upset about it. And it's like, come on, it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander here. So yeah, it's a crazy situation. But the problem is there's just no tolerance. I mean, nobody has any tolerance. It's my point of view. It's what I think. It's what I believe. The minute you disagree with me, you're a racist, you're a bigot, you're a fascist. I mean, it's a problem. It's a major problem.
Well, and I'm glad that you mentioned that word tolerance, because that gets thrown around a lot. What does tolerance really mean?
Tolerance, I mean, simply put, it's understanding other people, and that's the thing. We're incapable of suspending our disbeliefs, and that's a big part of mental toughness. A big part of being mentally tough is understanding. You have your beliefs, I have my beliefs, and just because I think what I think doesn't mean what you think is wrong. But we're incapable of suspending those disbeliefs. So it's just there's no middle ground. As politically where we are right now, it's everybody's incapable of doing anything, even the simplest things. I mean, the 4th of July parade. I mean, who would have thought there'd be any type of anybody upset about a 4th of July parade? Now, all of a sudden, it's how much is it costing? What are you doing? Why are you bringing tanks? What's going on with the flyover? It's like, seriously, this is the 4th of July. Can we agree on something, please?
Yeah, and as you point out, tolerance isn't, I have to agree with you. I can't have an opposing idea concerning you. That isn't what makes me intolerant, is it? Just because I don't agree with everything that you say.
Yeah, just and that's the thing. Like when you have an opposing point of view, as humans, we're horrible listeners. As males, we're hard. I mean, males don't listen, right? We don't listen.
That's our complaint.
We're horrible listeners. So it's like we all have this innate need to be heard, and that's the thing about mentally tough people. They understand that. So it's just being heard, it's just understanding. And mentally tough people don't listen with the intent to reply. They listen with the intent to understand. People are not able to listen. Again, they're so emotional that they just say, you know what? I'm not going to hear you. I'm going to close my ears and shut down to whatever it is. And that's a problem across the board, and not just in politics. It's everywhere, at home, in business. That's a big part of the people I train in sales. They're not capable of thinking logically. It's a problem.
Well, so let's go on to what engenders tolerance, or maybe we should even say a little more plainly, maturity. Now, I kind of have an idea that boys become men. They mature when they are put in a situation where they have to go along with the rules, and I guess I'm speaking of mandatory military service. Now, everybody equates that with the draft, but that's not what we're talking about, at least not what I'm talking about. I'm thinking of Israel. There's mandatory military service for every Israeli man or woman, and it's for the defense of their country. What do you think about that? You've been in the military, and what do you think? Does it mature people, or should we not think about that at all?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of mandatory military service. Pete Buttigieg, Mayor Pete, actually just announced that today, that he was proposing that as part of his plan to institute some sort of, I think he calls it national service. But I'm a huge fan of it. I mean, and that's, I think, one of the main problems we have right now. There's no social fabric. It's just everybody's kind of going in 1,000 different directions with no common thread. I mean, look at the current environment. 0.4% of our population, 0.4, so less than 0.5% are active duty military. 7.3% of our entire population has served at some point. So there's, I'm 45 years old, so look at my generation. Not a lot of people my age served. So when you have 2 or 3 generations of nobody serving, there's just this huge gap. I can remember as a child sitting on my grandfather's, I'm a 3rd generation military person. So I can remember my grandfather sitting on his lap, him telling me World War II stories about shooting artillery shells. So it's like I have these memories from when I was a kid. Our children, we're not growing up in that type of home where, unfortunately, they just think that everything that we have is given. It's the way it should be. If we make them understand, not everything you have is free. Go out and earn it for yourself. That has massive changes on our whole. Now, the problem is there's no short-term fix. This is something that does take time to do. But you want to see a change in this nation. Start requiring people to do some sort of service. Call it 2 years. Doesn't have to be 4 years. Call it 2 years. 2 years of service mandatory to your country. You want to see people be on the same page? That changes everything drastically.
Well, and that gets us back to our conversation on tolerance and our conversation on emotion versus critical thinking. These are signs of maturity. So, do you think that the military does mature people?
Yeah, and I don't know that's totally mature people. I mean, I think it helps you to understand there's something bigger than you as yourself. Me being a Marine Corps veteran, I think we kind of go overboard with it. My kids always give me a hard time. They're like, Daddy, why do you always run up and hug people when you see them with Marine Corps shirts on? I'm like, because it's a brotherhood. And that's the thing. We were in the Marine Corps. We didn't see color. Okay, in the Marine Corps, everybody was green. You were either a dark green Marine or a light green Marine. Doesn't matter to me. We're all there for the same thing. So when you look at any veteran, when you look at one of the 7.3% of people in this nation that have served, they have a totally different outlook on everything. The level of respect, the way they treat others, it's a totally different thing. So does the military mature? Yes, it does. But the main thing I think the military provides is a social fabric, something that we all have in common that's lacking majorly right now.
Well, and you point out that there's a camaraderie that comes. I know my son-in-law was a devil dog, and he cautioned me never tell a Marine they're retired. Once a Marine, always a Marine.
Yeah, once a Marine, always a Marine. Take the Marine out of the Corps, can't take the Corps out of the Marine.
Well, and I saw him grow some really interesting character traits from his military service, and one of those was respect that you mentioned. So I know that Rick has given me the signal we need to go to a break here, but I know he wants to come back and talk more about
That's all right, Sharon.
This idea.
Question. You know, we make the rules. We can change them.
We can break them. Go ahead and break this one by asking. I want you to talk about how the military engenders character traits like respect and tolerance.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to that social fabric. I can't harp on that enough. I mean, you know, that's the thing. Like going to boot camp, everybody's like, "Oh, you go to Parris Island, isn't it hard? Isn't it tough? Whatever." Yeah, but you know, the thing is, like, I can remember my boot camp. I can remember my drill instructor the day I graduated boot camp. They rip into you for 3 months. They're destroying you. They're mutilating you for 3 months. The day we graduate, they sit down. They take their cover off. For the very first time, they talk to us like we're humans. And I can remember, like yesterday, my drill instructor saying, "Don't think you're leaving here disciplined. You're not disciplined. What you've done for the last 3 months is obey orders. That's easy. Anybody can obey orders. Discipline's when you're home and nobody's telling you what to do." So the whole thing about going in any branch, it doesn't have to just be the Marine Corps, any branch, when somebody's making you do it, it's easy. But when you're on your own is what it really matters. That's what sticks with anybody who served. That sticks with you indefinitely until the day you die. You never forget those things that you were taught, and you never forget the friendships, the relationships you build. It's one of those things. I know everybody kind of gives me a hard time about the whole mandatory military service. But I look at these kids now. You want to whip them into shape real quick, put down the Nintendo controller, go to boot camp and come back. Everybody benefits from it. Even the kids that cry and moan the whole way on their way to boot camp, they will thank everybody for that further on down the road. Guarantee, 100%.
I had a friend who entered the military on the very day before her 25th birthday, I think it was a deal where she had to get in or she couldn't go. And she moaned and groaned, like you said, all the way through boot camp. But whenever we got together and talked, it was one of her fondest memories of those relationships that she built there and the things that she learned. And now we really are going to go to a break. We're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. And now you can watch our TV show on the AUN TV network in Northern California. We'll be right back with our guest, and Rick. First of all, with our host, co-host Rick Trader. I'm Sharon Angle, and our guest Eric Rittmeyer, who is a U.S. Marine and an expert in the field of mental toughness and emotional intelligence.
Hoorah!
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show on this very special 4th of July edition. And joining us is Eric Rittmeyer. He's a former U.S. Marine and is an expert in the field of mental toughness. Eric, thank you for staying through that break. We do appreciate your time, and God bless you, and God bless your service to our country.
Thank you.
Eric, could you talk about, I know you and Sharon talked a lot about mental toughness. What was Eric Rittmeyer like before you went into the Marines as far as mental toughness? You talked about that time in boot camp. Talk about how the Marine Corps changed your life and made you tougher.
Yeah, it's one of those things. You know, there are a lot of misconceptions about mental toughness and emotional intelligence. And I mean, really, the simplest, easy way to define mental toughness is it's emotional control. And a lot of people, you know, you have people that are high in IQ, which you're born with it. Sorry, you know, you're either smart or you're not smart. I wasn't born with that gene, unfortunately. I'm self-proclaimed not smart person. I had my 14th grade education. But you're born with your IQ. There's really not a lot you can do with it. EQ, your emotional intelligence, that's your brain. That's something you can grow. So I get the question all the time, you know, like, Eric, I'm lacking in mental toughness, or I don't feel I'm emotionally intelligent. Can I build my mental toughness? And the answer is 100% yes. So from a military standpoint, you know, it's instilling these things and getting you into these habits, if you want to call it, and it's your brain. So anybody can build their mental toughness. And I think lots of people who go in the military, when they go in, they feel like they were not mentally tough, and they come out feeling like they do have a better grasp on every part of life. So me included. Again, I'm third generation military, so I believe I think I grew up being pretty mentally tough, but the Marine Corps definitely did put an exclamation point behind it, put it that way.
Eric, here we are, the 4th of July. It is very hot and humid at least here on the East Coast. I remember going down through Paris Island and watching the Marines out there on this terribly hot, humid day. I mean, exercising, they were just dirt from head to toe, from the sweat and the dirt and everything. But I really think going through those types of conditions sets you up for the rest of your life. Wow, if I can go through this, I can get through just about anything. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's, and that's one of the things in boot camp too, we learned, they would say, once you get to the point where you physically feel like you are done, you are finished, not another push-up, not another mile, you can't go another foot. Once you get to that point, you have about 20% more in the tank. And that's basically what it boils down. We quit because of our mind. I mean, our bodies are capable of so much more than what we actually put it through. It's our mind that stops. And you're right. But again, it's easy when somebody's telling you to do it. I mean, boot camp is not easy, but when somebody's breathing over top of you, telling you what time to wake up, telling you what time to go to bed, telling you what to eat, how to run, what to wear, it's really not that difficult. It becomes like anything else. It kind of becomes a game at that point. It's like, okay, I'm fine with this. The first couple weeks, you're obviously running like your head cut off, but after that, it's like, okay, you're going to yell at me and scream in my face. All right, what else we got? Like, what time's chow?
Right. Eric, there's something out there I call the wimping of America. It's this generation now of everybody getting a participation trophy. Give us your thoughts on that.
I think that's pretty much across the board. Everybody would agree on this. And I mean, it's not difficult when you find somebody that grew up with that generation of participation trophies. I mean, they're not preparing themselves for real life. And I mean, as parents, I think we do that to our kids. I have 2 teenage daughters, and it's difficult, to teach them these things and have them experience pain is difficult. But the participation trophy, I mean, it's everything now. It's every part of life. It's everywhere you go. We're all winners. Let's just go.
Well, do you feel that actually hurts more than helps?
Oh, well, I don't know that there's anything that helps other than their feelings that based, in real life, what are your feelings? I mean, okay, great. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings intentionally. I don't know if there's any benefit to the whole participation trophy era. I mean, what does it truly do aside from spare their feelings, which once they get in the real world, they're going to get their feelings hurt anyway. Why not prepare them with it when they're younger, teach them how to deal with it emotionally, as opposed to them having no idea how to respond to it and going off the deep end?
Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, our guest is Eric Rittmeyer. He's a former U.S. Marine. We thought it'd be great to have him here with us on the Conservative Commandos radio show and talk about the mental toughness of America. And Eric, we've got, I think, a pretty tough guy in the White House right now. It's something that the country, I believe, needs. We've got to present a strong presence in the world. And what's your thoughts about Donald Trump? Do you think he's a tough guy?
It's funny. I get bombarded with this, especially with everything that happened with Iran last week and all that. I get tons of this. And the question is Donald Trump mentally tough? That's the question everybody wants answered. And it's funny because with Donald Trump, he has some things he exhibits that I would say make him very mentally tough. Never bowing to criticism. The fact that he's just so determined to win. I mean, these are things that are mental toughness. These are things that are very, very strong. When it comes to weaknesses, which I don't think anybody's going to be surprised by this, it's the inability to regulate and self-control your emotions. So from his standpoint, the self-regulation piece is a very big part of this. I mean, he is someone who, unfortunately, when he thinks something, he says it. He's unable to regulate his emotions. Although what happened with Iran when he caught off the airstrike last week, I would say that was really one of the that was a defining moment for him in that he proved that he was able to regulate the emotions. Because up until then, I think it was pretty non-existent.
All right. Eric, I consider myself a very patriotic person. I think this is the greatest country ever created on God's blue-green planet. I think back to the 1980 Olympics when our hockey team beat the Russians. That was a wonderful day in our country's history. However, right now you have 2 daughters, Eric. Do they play soccer?
They're field hockey players, actually. They're not
field hockey.
Players,
all right.
But I know where you're going with this.
The reason I bring this up, here we've got this Megan Rapinoe, who is the captain of the U.S. soccer team. They're going for the World Cup. And she says if they win, I'm not going to the effing White House. I'm not going to the effing White House. Eric, am I not patriotic when in my mind I really hope the U.S. soccer team loses?
I've heard that a lot, and I got to tell you that there are so many problems with people that disrespect our flag. So many problems. It's one thing if you're on the sideline of a football game disrespecting it, which obviously fires up 99.9% of the people in this nation. When you're wearing the uniform, when you're representing the United States of America on foreign soil, and that's the way you're going to act. She's totally ruined the whole experience for her entire team. Unfortunately, now there's this negative vibe around. It's unfortunate because the rest of her team didn't do anything to deserve it. But you're right. Unfortunately, it's a matter of we really would prefer you not win based on the fact that you're so disrespectful to the person in office. To totally disrespect our nation based on your dislike for one person. It's Twitter followers. That's the only thing. That's the only conclusion I come up with. These people do whatever they can to get as many followers as they possibly can, because there's no way you can think disrespecting your country on foreign soil is a way to say I don't like my president. It's silly.
Well, Eric, I don't know when you talk about it's silly to dislike one person, because there's somebody out there who I have a great deal of disdain for. And that's that Colin Kaepernick. I mean, this is a guy who just won't take his $27 million that he stole from the NFL and go away, because recently Nike, I guess it's a company he has a deal with, was going to put out a patriotic shoe for the 4th of July. And Sharon and I were talking about this in the beginning of the show, how he whined and complained to Nike, and because of him, they've pulled this entire line.
Yeah, I missed when they had the election to vote him to be the CEO of Nike, but I would think they should probably go back and retract that assignment. Again, tons of problems with this. Number one, the people who show the most disrespect for our flag never served a day in the military. Okay, so I understand freedom of speech. I understand protest. I get all that. But to think that these people have never worn a uniform and he's going to go out in the field and wear socks that bash police officers, I mean, are you kidding me? Then on top of it, okay, it's the Betsy Ross flag. Number one, he said it wasn't about the flag. That's not why he was kneeling. Well, now apparently it is because of the flag, because you have a problem with it. Number two, look at the backdrop. This just came out. Look at the backdrop of the inauguration in 2013 for Barack Obama. Look at the flags that are hanging behind him when he was being inaugurated in December in 2013. If my eyes serve me correctly, it's the Betty Ross flag. There's two of them right behind the stage when he's being inaugurated. So if you have a problem with the flag, why was it not a problem now, but it is a problem when it's on the back of a pair of shoes? I hope some shoe company picks up on that and makes tons of money and takes over the role of first in that market. I hope it's Adidas. I like Adidas personally. So put the flag on a pair of Adidas and sell millions.
All right. Hey, Eric, before I let you go, I've got to ask you this question. Here we are on the 4th of July. You're a former U.S. Marine. Can you talk about how your service in the Marine Corps, or anybody's service in the Marine Corps, helps patriotism?
And this is not even specialized to the Marine Corps. This is anybody, and I'm huge on this. It doesn't matter what type of uniform you wear, what branch of service you're in, if you're a police officer, if you're a firefighter, if you're a paramedic, anybody who voluntarily puts on a uniform to serve others. You talk to anybody who's worn a uniform, regardless of what kind of uniform it is, they will all have pretty much the same type of attitude towards how patriotic they are. Why? Because they know they're serving something bigger. They've been there, they've done that, they know the brotherhood, they know race and color means nothing when it comes to saving lives.
All right. Eric Rittmeyer, it's great to have you with us. Appreciate you joining us here on the 4th of July. Wanted to have a Marine, a representative of the Marine Corps to join us. Thank you for that. For our listeners and viewers out there who want to find more about you and what you do, where can they go?
Twitter's the best place. It's at Mental Speaker. And then also my website, which is mentaltoughness.speaker.com. All
right. Eric Rittmeyer, thank you so much for joining us. Take care. God bless. Happy 4th of July to you and your family.
Hoorah, Semper Fi. Thank you, guys.
And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network on this, our Independence Day.